I think the next couple of months are going to be absolutely crazy for our crypto coins. And I still stand by the idea that we have not topped yet this cycle. Matter of fact, the craziest of gains is still yet to follow. Global M2 has been increasing like crazy. Bitcoin thus far has always seemed to follow along, or at least for this cycle it has with some lag. From that angle, we still expect Bitcoin to do some crazy, but even if you don't follow that model, take a look at gold. Gold has been doing some absolutely massive numbers. Bitcoin has always seemed to follow. With some lag, sure, but just take a look at these charts. We do not think the crypto market has seen its peak yet, but also, just considering how every single previous cycle has played out, it's been about 3 years of up, 1 year of down. We still think that the end of this cycle will be somewhere along the lines of right now to January, but almost any piece of, I guess, analysis, or let's just call it any charts that people can pull up right now, almost none of them showcase that the crypto market has topped just quite yet. Here, for example, the MVRV Z-score for Bitcoin here, it shows let's quickly read exactly what it says right here. The MVRV ratio is a simple ratio of the market value to realized value. MVRV Z-score adds statistical analysis by measuring how many standard deviations the current MVRV is from its historical mean. And the market value is simply Bitcoin's price, while the realized value considers the price at the time each Bitcoin last moved, accounting for lost or holded coins. And when you indeed start taking a look at it, this usually spikes when the crypto market is at peak. However, things might be different nowadays because of these massive institutions. And one thing I'd like to state is if you're wondering which coin I'm buying most of right now, especially at this price range, make sure you go ahead and press that like button on this video right now, but it has to be Solana. And even though I wasn't necessarily always the biggest fan of Sol, I have to admit I got soul pilled a while back by 𝗂𝗂𝘀, who basically had this post a while back, like years ago, saying, friends, don't let me take all your Solana, and he bought the Solana dip with probably millions of dollars, made perhaps hundreds of millions of dollars along the way. And he made me realize, or actually the Solana community made me realize one thing. Reminder that 2 Solana digital asset treasuries have yet to hit the open market to purchase SOL, and 4 others are done with the initial raise and now have the sole mandate of stacking as much Solana as possible. Oh, and several staking ETFs as well. Oh, and SOL is tiny in size in comparison to ETH or BTC. Good luck, have fun. And what the core thesis there is that just now with Forward buying this $1.6 billion worth of SOL, which they just completed, I think, yesterday or the day before, it was already a pretty massive uptick for Solana's price, right? But I think their average price per SOL is about 233, something along those lines, or 232. So ICO Beast here also said, there's a reason I opened this. What is he referring to? He's talking about a new long he opened on Solana. In this case here on Hyperliquid, I just basically have myself here a pretty nice position over on Pionex, if I can quickly open it up. It's only a little bit of Solana, as you can see right here, 310 SOL, but I honestly think that adding within this range, I just added 10 SOL, but I'll add another 10 SOL here just for good measure. So add another 10 SOL right there. Adding within this range is not really too crazy. Why? Because we're getting in practically at the same time as those massive institutions that are buying billions of dollars worth. And even though on the short term they may be wrong, thus far, Saylor, Tom Lee, and all the guys that are buying on the institutional level, I'm talking billions of dollars, have not been wrong. And that's the thing. Even though they may be wrong on the very, very short term, I still refuse to believe that they've not done their proper due diligence and they're going to lose on these trades. And where do I mean lose? Well, that these assets go to zero. It could be, again, at the short term they're wrong, and that's the thing. They're buying in just before the FOMC meeting. Now, I do not want to say they know what they're doing by buying in just before. I think that just has to do with regulatory side. When are they allowed to buy? They want to buy as soon as possible to have as much history, hopefully get as much asset exposure as soon as possible to be able to buy more, etc. But it is interesting that they did these purchases partially before FOMC. Then again, looking at the statement I just read, there's many out there still waiting to purchase on the open market. Some of them will probably buy some locked SOL, but still the idea counts that they want to have Solana on their balance sheet. It makes me quite excited. And I will say that there's multiple coins in a similar sort of position. AVEX has got itself some new treasuries coming up and more ETF news. But out of all of them, the one I'm most excited about is SOL, if we're talking about the top tier crypto coins. And if we're talking not about the top tier coins, but a little layer, let's say, below it, because again, the AVAX news has been pretty interesting all around of them raising all this money. It's good and all. There's two other coins I'm pretty excited about. One, of course, is Dogecoin, with more ETF announcements coming up this week. And whenever the market ticks up a little bit, I do expect Dogecoin to also get a little bit of an exponential boost. I do still think really highly of robotics coins, like I said a few days ago in my video. I mean, they're not going to pump every day, and it's still a little bit higher of a risk factor, but it just makes sense for this sector to do well because they've been doing so well in TradFi. Now, talking about tomorrow's event, because I want to quickly get back to it, there's a few scenarios of which two are realistic, one is not. All right, no rate cut, which I think the probability of that happening is practically 0.01. But that would most likely be an extremely heavy dump. We would not like it. Extremely unlikely, though, like less than 2% odds. I think it's basically zero. Scenario 2, most likely. 25% or 0.25% cut, 25 base points, most likely. And people complain that perhaps this is already priced in. And then there's also the potential of a 50 base point rate cut, so minus 0.5%, which would lead to an absolutely massive pump. The reason I've said over the past few days, hey, the only place I'm stacking coins right now is over on Payonix, which is with the bots, because they make money on volatility. The main reason I've been saying that is because as it currently stands, the market could go either direction because it's most likely going to be 0.25, and that might already be priced in. That's what a lot of these major outlets and major banks are saying, that since the anticipation has been there, if it goes exactly as expected, we don't expect too much from the market, right? These bots still automatically rake in tons of profit because they make money on volatility. Remember a few days ago, I showed you guys my 40,000 XRP bot. In the past, I think 4 days, it's generated another like 300 XRP or so, which is what the whole purpose here was, to basically open these coin bots here in coin so they can get me more coins as the price is uncertain. And especially when the markets dump, these are able to generate such crazy amounts of returns. If you take a look at this, for example, it's supposed to generate me, this has been 12 days long, right? It's already generated from 8 ETH, about 0.15 ETH. And over a yearly basis, that's about 50%, meaning that if I keep this 8 ETH in, at the end of the year, I'm supposed to have about 12 ETH inside of it of cashed out profits, right? But then also, if the ETH price goes up, because this is just talking about sideways, we also rake in an absolutely massive amount of ETH on just the price going up and the volatility there. But that's the beauty of the strategies I've been making here. Like, for example, SOL. We've cashed out 4 SOL in the past 6 days or something like that. But then if the Solana price goes up from wherever we started it at, we can also make a ton of SOL on that, which means our gains are multiplied pretty crazily in that sense. And again, like I said, you can find links for that down below. Here's, for example, Payonix is the exchange I use. And right below that is a nice bonus for just signing up. But I think you also get some nice things for just literally signing up to the website. And you can use it from anywhere in the world, but you might need a VPN if you're in some countries. But even KYC1. You can just put it in any country you want if you're wondering about that. But maybe if you log in from a certain IP, it will not let you. But just use a VPN is what I always say. But I was saying a little bit earlier, another few coins I'm watching, and this is really going to be controversial because it's not necessarily a coin I want to push here. It's Pump.fun. I've said it, and it doubled actually over the past week or so since I was talking about it. But the reason I keep mentioning it is because it's not that the rest of these coins are garbage, which it's definitely an opinion people may have, but that's not it. The main reason I'm saying that Pump.fun could do so well is because right now, if I'm talking about all the retail, I'm talking about the normal people in crypto that have never heard about crypto and where they are finding out about it right now, a lot of it is coming from the Solana ecosystem. And a big part of it right now, at least, has been coming from all these different new meme coins that are getting a ton of attention. Maybe you've not been keeping up to date with it. That's completely fine. Let me just tell you that if we're talking about social media hype for crypto, a lot of it is coming from meme coins, which I've not traded at all. I don't really trade these garbage things. They're all quite worthless. But the cool thing is that right now over on Pump.fun, people are making tons of money from streaming. But that's both sides. It's also people who are buying into the streamer coins, because that's what these are. They're making a lot of money. It doesn't matter the amount of money made. It's more about the attention that is gathering. And that's been doing really freaking well here. And for that reason, if Pump.fun sets the stage here for these streamer coins, it could be that they're going to keep continuing to do pretty well over time, or at least hold this price and stack as better and bigger streamers come on. But that's the thing. Pump.fun has actually already doubled since I called it out last week, or done some pretty crazy numbers. And I basically said the end of my ride here will be until about 0.008, and we've actually already reached that. But now, because of things that have happened here, I'm actually starting to open the puerta again to potentially even way crazier gains. And looking at this, by the way, today has been an absolutely neutral day for the market. We've got some little pump like IMX here up 9%, but let me quickly refresh here, Because that can't be, right? We've got nothing practically going up today. IMX is the only not even double-digit gainer. Nothing is doing anything today. The best we've got is freaking 9% because it's down 2% over on the hour. So if today your coins are not looking good, just know the entire crypto market ain't looking good right now. But I'm thinking that this is all probably going to be over in about 48 hours from now, as the FOMC is happening tomorrow. And from there, things will probably get very, very interesting. That's to say the least. But there is still a very high chance that if we actually pump right after the FOMC and we don't get too crazy of a dump going right around there, that's actually the official start of altcoin season. And I'm just saying, out of all the coins, the one I'm most interested in, because I'm talking about tons of capital, is Solana. If I had less capital or I wanted smaller and smaller coins, realize that there's a time and place for everything, and it's called college. That's a joke from South Park. I don't know why I said that just now. There's a time and place for everything, and the, let's call it time right now, is mostly main coins. I've shown you this little sheet of the market flow, right? Where first you get Bitcoin, which we've already passed. You know, Bitcoin has already doubled this cycle. It's not that interesting anymore because what can it do? Double again, but that's basically it. Ethereum has done a pretty good part, can still triple this cycle, and so it's still quite interesting. But for the most part, because Ethereum is already so quote-unquote valuable, there's a lot more potential in the new ETFs, the new DATs and stuff. So large caps become interesting. The number one most interesting one right now is Solana. This will not stay that way though, and the majority of the money will be made with smaller coins, but there's a bit of waiting necessary, I think, before that phase enters the chat, let's call it. And that does not mean we can't make money on other coins like XRP, like an XLM, like an HBAR, like a 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗏. There's a time and place for everything. And those coins always just have some crazy amounts of hype, basically out of nowhere here and there. But there's the difference between being able to be quite sure about something doing really, really well in the near future and placing significant amounts of money on it on a very short term, like on Solana right here, right now at these prices. I mean, I can even just buy significantly more SOL here because this is like the best price I think we can get for a while, unless, of course, we dump on the FOMC. And there comes the kicker. The reason I'm not going as crazy is because even though these prices are pretty amazing, you have to understand that tomorrow's FOMC can really put a lot of dirt in our freaking food. And I've warned you for the last 2 days. I said, hey, you can actually sell a good percentage to buy back potentially right after. And some people might say, well, why would you buy it back? Then what if the price goes up? That's the thing. Sometimes you're giving away a little bit of gains in return of safety. And even though nothing in the crypto market is guaranteed, there's no safety rails here. You're never safe. Sometimes some decisions from the theory perspective are better than others, right? Risk reward perspective are better than others. And right now it made sense to sell a bit going into FOMC just in preparation for perhaps the pricing in already, perhaps a slight crash around this event. Could be 1 hour before, could be around the exact announcement date. It could be 1 hour afterwards. But if there's a massive dump around the event, at least we got some good profits, because I still think that we buy the maximum amount going after that event, meaning regardless of what happens after, if we dump, we buy, if we pump, we buy, we just go at it because there's really not that much holding us back anymore until the peak of this season. And even if we do see some turbulence in the midst, it's still worth going for, in my opinion. So that's my strategy for right now. That's about it. I'm going to have a struggle giving this video a name. I have no idea yet, but that's about it for this little crypto update. Make sure you check out those links down below if you're interested in trading or my bots or my strategies, whatever. That's about it.